Hello folks, JB here with you live on WFLA Now, live from the Hernando County Sheriff's Office. We're about to hear from the sheriff on Operation Heartless. We have some details on this story on WFLA.com, News Channel 8, learning that the director of a Hernando County animal shelter and her boyfriend have both been arrested on multiple fraud charges stemming from a major money laundering operation out of Hernando County. We're about to hear from Sheriff Ninehouse here momentarily. We're live on WFLA Now, a little bit early on on YouTube. We're about to launch on Facebook, also live on WFLA.com and the WFLA app. As we await the press conference getting underway, what we can do is show you the mugshots that WFLA News Channel 8 has received. This showing the 2 arrests in this major money laundering operation, according to the sheriff's office. Saying,
good afternoon, everyone. My name is Michael Terry. I'm the Deputy PIO here at the Hernando County Sheriff's Office. We'd like to welcome you all today to the press conference. I just want to go over a few housekeeping items before we begin. The first thing is, if you could allow the press conference to run to its completion before starting to ask questions, that's very much appreciated. And then secondly, if you have any questions that are off topic, wait till after the press conference and we'll deal with those after that. So with that being said, we'll bring out the sheriff.
Good morning, and for our media partners, thank you for showing up. I'm Hernando County Sheriff Al Nienhuis. It's spelled N-I-E-N-H-U-I-S, and it's pronounced Nienhuis. We also have a couple individuals here that showing their support and/or were involved in the investigation. We actually have a county commissioner, Jeff Holcomb, is here. We have our state attorney's office supervisor for the Hernando County, Conrad Juergensmeyer. We have Rob Lewis with the State Attorney's Office. He's going to be one of the prosecutors on this case, as well as our State Attorney, the elected State Attorney, Bill Gladstone. We also have a representative from Representative Blaise Ngolia's office. Heidi is here, so thank you all for coming. This case, I think one of the things I really want to talk about at the very beginning is this case was first brought to the Sheriff's Office on January 21st of this year. So tomorrow it'll be a 3-week-old case for the Sheriff's Office. And during that time, thousands of documents and records were examined. I think a couple dozen court orders, including things like search warrants, arrest warrants, and things like that were done. So keep that in mind as we go through this, the magnitude of this case and the speed in which it was done. I will tell you that a couple of the biggest areas of the Sheriff's Office was our major case unit, particularly economic crimes, as well as our crime analysis unit. Did a tremendous amount of work on this, basically worked tirelessly over this over the last 3 weeks. We also have some federal partners that we work with, and we certainly want to extend our thanks to them, including a task force we're on. Many of you know that the U.S. Marshals Service is known for catching fugitives. What you might not know is the U.S. Secret Service is experts when it comes to things involving money and economic crimes, and they were a huge help on this. And members of that task force, I believe, are from Pinellas County Sheriff's Office, Pasco Sheriff's Office, members of the Secret Service, as well as 1 or 2 of my detectives. And they played an integral role in us getting to this conclusion. This is Operation Heartless, and back in May of 2019, this individual, this female, Susanna Arneson, was hired by the Humane Society here in Hernando County to work for them a couple years ago. You can see a couple pictures here of them, her and her then boyfriend. which is Douglas O'Berry, back in 2019 when they first started their association with the Humane Society. You may or may not remember, and we got permission to show this video. It was we had a burglary there in April of 2020. And here's a little information.
Monday morning after a holiday weekend, she couldn't believe it. She tells Ed on your side she felt heartbroken and sick to her stomach.
To come this morning and say, okay, today starts another day, let's be positive, and for someone so heartless to take this away from us.
You can see she's tearing up there and calling the burglars heartless, and you may or may not remember we actually solved that burglary. I think we got some of the information back. The irony of that is her calling those burglars heartless, and you'll see in a moment why. These are pictures of the couple today, particularly Ms. Arneson, now married to Mr. O'Berry. They, you can see a little bit of a difference in their appearance, particularly hers. We'll let you draw your own conclusions, but we're relatively confident that the change in her appearance is not the result of hard work and willpower, and we'll explain that in a few minutes, but she's obviously made a tremendous transformation. What happened since her being hired with the Humane Society is we found at the time of that video that was shot about the burglary, she had already funneled over $300,000 into her personal account and was able to make several purchases for personal items. Since that time, we've identified, Detective Tippin and others have identified over $1.2 million in theft. So a total of $1.5 million over the last few years. And here's some of the things that we've been able to identify. We have a, this was actually purchased in February of 2020. This is a 2003 Sea Fox. It was purchased for $22,000. It was not paid for. It was paid for in cash, or it was not financed. We had a 2020 Jeep Wrangler, which was worth $43,000. You can see a couple of them there. Whoops. Let me get the Jeep Wrangler here. 2020 Jeep Wrangler. This is the 2020 Jeep Wrangler. This is bought by Susanna Arneson O'Berry. It was paid for with $43,000. 5 days after the burglary, they actually purchased, let me get the right one here. They purchased that house that's in the background. They paid $220,000 and did not take out a mortgage on that. That was 5 days after that burglary that she called the suspects heartless, and ironically enough, that house is about 3/4 of a mile from the Humane Society as the crow flies. Now, in November of 2020, we actually have evidence that she did some international travel, which may or may not have been related to her change in appearance. In March of 2021, there was a Dodge Ram that was purchased, a 30, I think, oh, here it is. There's a couple different Ford trucks that were purchased and registered to bottoms-up charter. We believe that that business was started as proceeds from this particular endeavor, this crime that they did. The house was actually transferred to her soon-to-be husband in July of 2021. They got married in August of 2021, but between those two times, they actually purchased Precision Tackle. You may or may not know of it. It's on you. You can see it in the background there a little bit to that picture to the left. Here's some interior there's a front picture of it. It's on US 19, a little bit south of Toucan Drive. Here's some pictures of the interior. It's obviously, whoops. It's a well-stocked tackle shop. It's actually pretty popular. The former owner was pretty popular, and it was purchased by Mr. O'Berry, we believe, with ill-gotten gains from this particular crime. After they were married, she actually resigned from the Humane Society, and that was in August 26th of last year. And she started a business called Vibes by SQ. I guess her nickname was Susie Q. So, and you can actually see one of the pictures there in the background of her transformation. This is a business that's directly next to the tackle shop and was opened by her. Again, we believe, we've been able to track the money. We believe it was money that was funneled away from the Humane Society. In September of 23rd, they bought a Famous Craft. I don't know if we have a picture of that, but we have another vehicle that, or another boat rather, that was purchased after, here it is, 2006 Famous Craft. It was owned by Bottoms Up Charter. It was actually purchased, again, we think, with money that we've been able to track back to money that was stolen from the business. And as I said, January 20th, the crime was actually reported, and these two individuals were arrested, Susan Arneson, and I'm going to have Mr. Gladstone talk a little bit about the actual charges. And this is her husband, Douglas O'Berry. Both of them have been charged with multiple crimes, including a few first-degree felonies, which are very serious in the state of Florida. Now, a couple comments on this is, as I said, there were thousands of documents that were looked at. There were checks that were destined for the Humane Society that were diverted by her. I'm not going to talk a lot about the specifics, exactly what she did, for a couple different reasons. One, we have literally just hit the tip of the iceberg when it comes to this particular case. These economic crime cases, particularly when you're talking $1.5 million, I think a lot of firms that do this for a living would say doing it in 3 weeks would be impossible, but we were able to do that. But that doesn't mean that there's not a tremendous amount of work. But we do have information that between January of I believe it was 2019. Got several pieces of paper here. I guess I don't have that one. It was, when were the first checks? January of 2020. The first checks that were diverted January of 2020. Up until just before it was reported to us, we have $800 and some thousand in checks that we see diverted, as well as transfers from accounts at the Humane Society into an account she was using to spend the money on some of these items that they purchased. Again, it was a very big and busy investigation. As you see, this is some pictures. We did search warrants on the businesses as well as the house. We've seized many of the vehicles and vessels. We're still in the process of going through and working with the court system to get either search warrants or seizure warrants on some other things. But you can see here that she is still, as of yesterday when we did the search warrant on the business, she's still associating herself apparently with the Humane Society. It was a very interesting case. She was able to take money and divert it, as I said, into an account that allowed her to make these purchases. It was definitely something that she did intentionally. Another interesting thing that we just recently found out, that within the last few months, I think it was in November, the Internal Revenue Service actually filed a couple liens against her for the 2012 and 2013 tax years for a total of about $400,000. We're not sure exactly, the IRS is pretty tight-lipped, but we're not sure exactly where that income came from, but it's kind of ironic that she has tax liens from a little over about 10 years ago, a little less than 10 years ago, for $400,000, which means in those 2 years she made a tremendous amount of money. And whether that money was legal or illegal, we're still trying to figure out. But the bottom line is the Humane Society may not be the first victim in this particular case. The Humane Society, we do have representatives here. I talked with them. The first specific information they got was literally within the last few minutes, so they certainly are not prepared to talk about it, but they have assured me a couple things. Number one is once they figure out exactly what happened and some of the information, they are going to make a statement for the media and for the press in the coming days. They will also have a particular individual that will be assigned to address any concerns or questions you have. They've also assured me that they've already put things in place to make sure that this doesn't happen again to any other organization. I have to commend them for stepping up because, as you in the media know and our friends watching at home, it's not unusual that when people are a victim of an economic crime, they either don't report it, or if they do report it, they don't want to press charges because of the negative publicity they get. So I have to commend the Humane Society for being willing to step up and prevent future victims, because I can rest assured if our prosecution is successful, it will be difficult, if not impossible, for these individuals to do something similar to any nonprofit organization in the future. That being said, I'm going to let our elected state attorney for this judicial circuit, Bill Gladstone, talk to you a little bit about the specifics when it comes to the charges, what the maximum penalties are, and some nuances with the prosecution, and then we'll be happy to take some questions, either myself or the detective. So, Mr. Gladstone, thank you for coming.
Thank you, Sheriff. Good morning. As the Sheriff said, my name is Bill Gladstone. I'm the state attorney in the 5th Circuit. First thing I want to do is just thank the Hernando County Sheriff's Office for doing an excellent job. In particular, the Economic Crimes Unit. They've always done a great job. They're very thorough, and they work as a team, and they work with our office, and that makes a huge difference because, as the Sheriff mentioned, there were numerous search warrants that were executed, dozens of subpoenas that were sent out, freeze orders on bank accounts. This can't be done without teamwork, and the way that this operation works is it's second to none. So I just wanted to point that out. The other thing that the Sheriff mentioned is this developed very quickly, and to put such a thorough investigation together so quickly is a testament to what a great job that they've done. I will tell you that as of this morning, these two are still being held on a $750,000 bond each. They are each, we anticipate charging them with 3 first-degree felonies. Grand theft in the first-degree felony is anything over $100,000. Organized fraud over $50,000 is a first-degree felony, and money laundering over $100,000. So those 3 first-degree felonies each carry a maximum penalty of 30 years in prison. I did some checking before we came over this morning, and as the Sheriff mentioned, the burglary that the Humane Society was a victim of a few years ago, from the video you saw, the person who committed that burglary went to prison for 8.5 years. So if you put that into context, these two face an exposure that's much greater than that. So I just wanted to say I thank the Hernando County Sheriff's Office Economic Crimes Unit for doing such a good job. So, yeah, sir.
Thank you. Yeah, and to put that in perspective, these are detectives that are working, oftentimes our Economic Crimes Unit has to jump in and help our major case unit when we have a crime against a person, a rape or a murder or something like that. They also, have to jump into unfortunately, a lot of times our economic crimes, the suspects are overseas, as many of you know. We hear that over and over again. When they're local like this, they are able to take advantage of that and do that. And I think it's a testament to their ability to handle just about anything that comes along. They certainly have to be, they are not specialists, they are generalists, but they have the ability of specialists. And I can't say enough about them. And as Mr. Gladstone said, we work early and very closely with the state attorney, because they ultimately are going to have to prosecute these crimes, and we found out the sooner we get them involved and get their opinion and perspective, the better the case is going to be. So I appreciate your willingness to step up and assign somebody to help us over those 3 weeks to make sure that we're crossing all our T's and dotting our I's, as well as helping us navigate the criminal justice system as far as getting search warrants and all the things we need and seizure orders. So with that being said, I'll go ahead and try to entertain a couple questions if you have any. And if I can't answer, maybe my detective can. So.
Sheriff, how were you guys tipped off, and how were they able to get away with this?
Well, that's a very good question, and we're still trying to get to the bottom of this. But as it happens in these types of cases, the ownership, in this case, the board of directors from the Humane Society, noticed that there was some improprieties, maybe some money missing in an account that should have had a lot more money, and brought it to our attention. And we started digging, and fairly quickly we found out that something was not right, and that kind of got the ball rolling. How something like this could happen, it's the same anywhere. You know, you have people that are involved and for a period of time do a good job and earn trust, and as the organization changes, they get more responsibilities, and unbeknownst to the organization, they take advantage of those responsibilities, and that coupled with a criminal mentality or mindset, some of the things that were done, the average person wouldn't think about because they would never take food out of the mouths of puppies, but this individual obviously was a pretty good actress. She's basically showing tears about a burglary that happened when she at that point had already taken $300,000 from the organization. So hopefully that answers your question, but we deal with it all the time, and I guess sometimes we do too good a job of protecting the public because you certainly can't tell by looking at these people, and you can't tell by talking to them because they can be very good actors and actresses.
Sheriff, in the interview room, did she express any remorse?
There was they didn't provide any assistance to the investigation.
How would you characterize these people?
Heartless, hence the name of the operation. You know.
Have you been able to recover any of the money up front?
We have been able to seize some bank accounts, and we hope to recover that. Obviously, we have a lot of assets that we've showed you that we've recovered, and we're still working on recovering more assets. If we can show any nexus to the stolen money and that particular item, we're going to do our very best to work with the Humane Society to get that back. Unfortunately, it's not uncommon in these cases that what you get back are pennies on the dollar, and some of the money that may or may not have been spent on a transformation, we obviously aren't going to be able to get that money back, any food and things like that, but we're going to do our best. Anything that's worth going after, we're going to go after and work with the state attorney and the judges, as well as the Humane Society and any legal counsel they may have to try to get every penny we possibly can back for them.
Is it possible that she knew the burglary back in April?
We don't have any information that we were actually, the first thing I thought of when I heard about this was she somehow involved, but we were actually able to solve that burglary, and as Mr. Gladstone said, that person was sentenced to prison, and I think had those individuals had any relationship with her, they probably, before going to prison for 8 years, if they would have known about it. So I would venture to say the burglary was totally unrelated to this. And is that a good assumption?
Yes, sir.
Okay.
How does this compare to anything you've seen here in the county?
Well, as far as a scheme to defraud, I don't know if we've had any larger than this.
I have not.
Yeah, the detective hasn't worked any. This is a big one, and again, to even add a little bit more frustration to it, these nonprofit organizations that do a tremendous service to the community. We all know that unwanted pets or people who take on responsibilities of pets and don't realize how big a responsibility it is. The Humane Society and other organizations do a great job in assisting getting those pets cared for and to new owners. It's a huge portion of what we do here, and there are people that actually will a tremendous amount of money to these organizations, tens of thousands of dollars sometimes. There's one case where it was well over 6 figures, and it was all diverted to purchase some of these items that were purchased by the suspects. So it's very frustrating.
And we talk about that when you're diverting that amount of money, with a lump sum. Does that make it easier for these individuals to to like sweep it under the carpet because it's
You know, I think it's, as I said, they may or may not have had experience doing this in the past, and over a period of time, you know, you get away with it and you keep doing what works, at least temporarily. I don't know if it was necessarily easier for them. I'm actually a little surprised that it went on as long as it did. But again, if you're pretty good at this and you're a good actor or actress, you can convince people that there's no big deal and everything's fine. You know, eventually it gets found out under the light of day, especially when you leave the organization. But it's amazing that they had the guts to do something like this, because it is a tremendous amount. And as Mr. Gladstone said, these are very serious charges. These are extremely serious charges. And I think that's a lesson to any individual that might be out there thinking about doing something similar. A first-degree felony is about as serious as you can get in the criminal justice world, short of a capital felony. And and when it's a true victim like this, and the Humane Society is a true victim, they weren't putting themselves in a high-risk lifestyle. I think the criminal justice system is going to seek to get justice in this case. I do want to say also that I was talking with my Sergeant Galarza with the Economic Crimes Unit, as well as the detective. I think going forward, we're going to try to, this case is, we're going to be busy over the next several weeks working on this to try to wrap it up. But as we go forward, we're going to try to develop some training, maybe for our local nonprofits, particularly the board of directors, and talk to them separately from any other employees. And much like the Humane Society, the board of directors is not paid. They have a very small staff, a handful of people that are paid oftentimes. But it's important for us to talk to the board of directors and say, here are some things you can do that will prevent something like this from happening. So we're going to try to develop some board training to help do some crime prevention in this particular area going forward. So.
Is it safe to characterize the female as the mastermind of this?
I'm sorry, the female.
To characterize the female as
Yeah, I think obviously we had enough information to charge her now husband, previously boyfriend. So we believe that he was involved. But I think that she, between what we see going on, she was obviously the person associated with the Humane Society. He was not directly associated. And that, coupled with some of the previous tax liens, I would venture to say she was at least the main player in this. So.
How long was she with the Humane Society?
I'm sorry?
How long was she with the Humane Society?
She actually started with them in November 2018? November of 2018, and she left in August of last year. But we actually have found evidence that she was still being able to manipulate some money that was coming in. So even after she left, which is really ironic. So
the Humane Society obviously came forward, but what did they say the red flags were?
Well, as I said, there was some. There was one particular account, if I'm not mistaken, that had did not have the amount of money in it that they thought it should have. And so they realized something had occurred. So.
Do you anticipate any other arrests, or is this?
We have been looking into it, and up until a day or so ago, we thought they might have had some assistance, but since then, we've come to the conclusion that those people have been very cooperative with us, particularly some of the transactions that occurred. So right now,
JB here with you on WFLA Now. A signal dropout from Hernando County. Stand by. Hey folks, JB here with you live on WFLA Now. It appears that we have lost our signal from Hernando County. If we get it back, we'll go back to the sheriff announcing the arrests in Operation Heartless. Again, live with you on WFLA Now across all platforms. Hope you're having a good Thursday morning, folks. It's not a good Thursday morning for the two individuals that you're seeing rotating here on the right side of your screen. We're talking about Susanna Arneson and Douglas O'Barry, married couple, arrested on 3 first-degree felony charges, accused of laundering $1.5 million in funds from the Humane Society in Hernando County, an animal shelter that Susanna was working for as the director for a period of time. Again, $1.5 million. Now, you noted there that in the let's talk about a couple of things here for our audience on Facebook Live, on YouTube Live as well. Hello to everybody joining us on YouTube as well. See that a lot of people are saying hello. You might have noticed in the press conference that was WFLA's Melanie Michael that did the interview with Arneson a couple of years back, and did the interview. It was it was in 2020 after someone allegedly broke into the shelter and stole 90% of their supplies. You heard Arneson in the interview with our own Melanie Michael say that, the exact quote was, "For someone so heartless to take this away from us, I just don't understand." That quote, then the word heartless being taken from that quote and being used to name the operation, the subsequent operation that were used to arrest Susanna Arneson and Douglas Paul O'Barry. Now, here's the second thing, and this is interesting, because multiple times over the course of this press conference, you heard the sheriff discuss an appearance change. Now, the sheriff alluded to there being international travel, and then also connecting that to an appearance change in Arneson. And when you put the two pictures together side by side from 2020, from the interview, and from the mugshot that was taken just recently, it's pretty stark. It's pretty drastic. I think the word that he used was dramatic. So we've loaded up the image here on your screen, and I want you to take a look at this, the difference in appearance. So this is Arneson in 2022 following her arrest. This is her mugshot, again, on 3 felony charges. Look at the difference in appearance. On the left side of your screen from 2022, on the right side of your screen from 2020, after that burglary had occurred at the Humane Society in Hernando County. So that was mentioned multiple times over the course of the interview, the press conference, and you also had the sheriff detailing boats and cars and several massive purchases that were made. Again, there it is, the side-by-side of Arneson in 2020 and in 2022. And again, alluding to there being international travel connected to her drastic change in appearance. So wanted to share that with you because we were putting the shots side by side. The shots, again, one from the 2020 interview that she did on WFLA, and then there it is, and then in 2022 in the center of your screen, the mugshot following her arrest. You can read a whole lot more on this story. Also in the room asking those questions, that was WFLA's Chip Osowski, our phenomenal reporter out of Pinellas County. He's working on this story today, and also going to be bringing us new details on that story coming up tonight on WFLA News Channel 8 in our evening newscast. It's also going to be made available to you on WFLA.com, the WFLA app. So more to this story, but a major money laundering operation busted, according to the Hernando County Sheriff's Office. $1.5 million estimated taken, and 3 felony first degree felony charges. I'll read it here. The director of the Humane Society of the Nature Coast and her boyfriend, each facing charges for allegedly trying to launder $100,000 or more. Arneson arrested on 1 count of fraud, money laundering, and for a transaction of $100,000 or more, fraud, swindle to obtain property over $50,000, and first-degree grand larceny. Their bond set to $750,000 each. Pretty, as you heard the sheriff there say, heartless allegations, and just terrible story out of Hernando County. But if you want to read more about it, it's on WFLA.com, the WFLA app. I'll give one more time. I'd like to just say hello to some of our YouTube and Facebook Live commenters. Hello to YouTube on WFLA Now, to Vicky, David, Fran, Michelle, Mark, Amy, Beverly commenting along with us on Facebook, Aaron, Julie. We've got Rhonda, Christine, Samara That's a great name, Samara. Allison, Aaron, always like to say hello to our commenters joining us. You can click on the link in the pinned comment below on the description on this video on WFLA Facebook Live or on WFLA's YouTube Live, and it'll take you over to WFLA.com or the WFLA app if you have it installed on your device for the very latest on this story. Whole lot more coming up. Including for baseball fans out there, Commissioner Rob Manfred is about to speak in Orlando, Florida, and widely expected to announce that spring training, beloved to me, I love spring training. Here, of course, in the Tampa Bay area, we have so many teams that come down to Florida for spring training. Largely expected to announce that spring training will not start on time because of a major labor dispute between Major League Baseball and the Players Association. So that's coming up next on WFLA Now. To our whole audience, thanks so much. The latest on WFLA.com, the WFLA app.